Morning, brothers and sisters, back for another video on allegory as we've been looking at in the Bible. And I found some very strange, and I do mean strange, allegory that I'm going to share with you. And or at least my interpretation on it is going to be very strange. But for anybody who's been following my videos, then you understand the allegory that we've been looking at in the male and the female, the body, the spirit, and all the allegory in the Bible that actually strengthens our understanding of the spiritual world. And only when we understand the allegory behind the words, then do we begin to get a real good picture of the spirit world that we haven't really looked at in this deep allegorical way. So we're actually going to look at the covering again in a much deeper way than what we've actually been looking at, and that takes us through the Bible in a lot of passages, but you'll find that word covering in a lot of places. That's gonna begin to allow your mind to open up and to question what we've been taught as our covering. Because in Isaiah 22, and this is one of the studies where you'll find the mention of the key of David. Now we've come to understand the key of David was the daughter Zion, alright? And she represented the covering of Judah. She was also known as Israel. She goes by many names in the scriptures, just as the male does. Alright? But you'll get this passage in Isaiah 22. Let me see, I didn't mark my verse out here. But it says in verse 8, and we come to realize that this was actually Solomon that did this. And he discovered the covering of Judah. And thou didst look in that day to the armor of the house of the forest. Now, the armor he was looking at, we find actually an allegory in Song of Songs, alright? So your covering is an allegory to your shield and to actually what protects you. Alright? And in this case, what was protecting them and what they came to realize was protecting them was the righteous daughter Zion, who was known as the Spirit from God given to man in covenant to teaching the truth of heaven. What happened was they changed that covering. They actually said, razor to the ground. And that's just what this chapter alludes to, is a tearing down of the key of David. Alright? And we understood how these daughters called branches in Joseph's blessing, because the queen, which is what she is known, comes from Israel, the 10 northern tribes. And the new Adam, so we have the new Eve, the new Adam, in a sense. But the nation of Israel, known as the woman's seed, had been split into two countries. And God says, these two are mine. Alright? So Judah represented the male. We know that. Alright? And would be your king. But your queen came from the 10 northern tribes. Alright? But Adam did not want a covenant with her. And he says, razor to the ground. We'll build our own stronghold. That means we'll build our own doctrine, our own covering. We'll split the waters, which is what Solomon did in allegory here in Isaiah 22, which means we'll split the doctrine, and after a while we'll just get rid of the truth, and we'll have nothing but our words, alright, that we're going to teach. And she's going to teach them too, and she'll become our harlot spirit. That's what she'll become, which is their covering, alright? And so this is all alluded to in Isaiah 22, and when you get your understanding in allegory, alright? It's like the two serpents in the wilderness. You have the serpent that was biting them, poisoning. That was the harlots that Balaam told Balak to go and get your women and send them into the men and poison them. And they were poisoning them. They were referred to as serpent. Now, I found a word, and of course, I doubt I've got it marked down now. But it was, let me see. It was a very good word in the New Testament, the one that I really should have spoke on. Yeah, when I was speaking on who the serpent raised up on the pole, the brass serpent, was representing. But in the Greek, you'll find this word 2191, a viper, in its feminine, properly a poisonous snake. Figuratively, this is your figurative. Incisive words that deliver deadly venom with the use of blasphemy. This switches the bitter for the sweet, light for darkness, etc. I can't say the word here. Viper then suggests the venomous desire to reverse what is true for what is false. Now we know that's what Balaam and Balak was up to. Because the nation of Israel, as we come to understand, was governed by the daughter Zion, and she was their queen, all right? The harlot nations, the Adamic nations, because he made a covenant with the harlot spirit, that's what he ended up with. But we know that Israel was set apart, representing the woman's seed. So Balaam told Balak, when he couldn't curse the nation of Israel, when he couldn't curse these daughters, these righteous daughters, he told Balak, go get the women, and we'll send them into the men to seduce them, and we'll poison them. Right? And that's your allegory to the serpent that was biting them, that was poisoning them and bringing death on them with lying theology through these women who had agreed to come under Adam's teachings, which what really is Old Testament law. That's the covenant with the harlot spirit. She agrees to come under him and be debased basically under him through his lying theology that exalts a he, and debases a woman as if she's to blame for it all. And he had to take her blame in all this headship doctrine. No, that's not of God. That's of Adam. How he wanted it wrote in there. And these harlots were in covenant, in agreement to come under him. Now, whether that, I think that had to be so in the beginning by will, but over time it came to be shoved down many of the daughters' throats, because we're told that in passages like Habakkuk 2:15 and 16. He put strong drink to her lip, or drink to her lip, and so he could expose her nakedness. That means he put his doctrine to her lips, got her drunk on it, so he could make her his harlot. See, you're seeing your allegory. So when we go back to those poisonous serpents, and here we have our allegory to the real word that we should have been looking at, and I apologize, I didn't do my study like I should have, which is Greek number 2191. You go look at that word for anybody who looked at my study on who the brass serpent was actually representing in the wilderness. And that was actually representing your righteous daughter Zion, where you were to actually get your words of truth from that would give you life, that would sustain you. But these men had fallen, or had succumbed to the lying harlots that come in and seduced them and was whispering into their ears in the tents and telling them a different way, a poisonous way. But it appealed to the men because it put them here and put her here. And he liked that. He really liked that teaching. It says it tastes like honey on their lips, but it's cobra's venom in their stomach. It's killing them. And that is what is debasing the world today. That is what is causing our world to die right now. We are built on a lying, not a foundation. The original foundation, according to the scriptures, is still there. But we have built a lying stronghold. All right? And that stronghold taught us lies, which takes us back to the covering, all right, which was your shields, which are daughters. It is not men. They want you to believe the shields are males that protect. No, it was your daughters, representing also the robe, the mantle that the men were ripping off of these righteous daughters, who are actually identified by these mantles that they wore. The garment beneath represents the body, the male, but the robe that they wore over it represented them as the glory. The robe does. That's your allegory. So it's like a body and a spirit, okay? That's what you see in allegory. And these men were told in Micah chapter 2 was actually ripping these mantles off of these daughters. And we know that they were told they were ripping their houses down, all right? And they were denying them their birthright. Now it says men, no. Because when you read Micah 2, it takes you right back to that they were denying the women and their children their actual birthright. Now we know who did that. Because when you go in and you begin to study who tore the houses down, it takes you right back to what Solomon was doing in, I believe, 1 Kings chapter 11 or 2 Kings chapter 11. I can never remember. And but it says Jeroboam come against Solomon because his mother was one of these widow women who had a birthright on the Mount Zion, where her job was to issue the decrees that would govern the land, the body, as given to her by Mother God, the Spirit, Mother God, Jerusalem from above. And that's what their role was. Now, what are we actually looking at in allegory, okay? Because we're going to get to this covering much deeper in a way that just, it really, and I've said this before, but it blew me away. When my understanding got so deep, I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? So I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to do your own thinking on this, like you do on anything. And because it is strange, but it is all there in a sense, okay? Now I ain't saying I have it all figured out, but I'm going to share with you what I do have on it. And perhaps some of you out there can put this together better than I can. But I'm going to share one word that I found. This is sort of separate and yet is to do with it. And it's the word meteor in your Greek. And it's Greek 3349. It means to raise on high, figurative, to be in suspense or anxious. And then it's meteorizo is the actual Greek word. Properly suspended in mid-air. Figuratively, to shift from one conviction to another. So again, we're seeing allegory again to meteorites, all right? Vacillating, wavering, like a person suspended in anxiety. Meteorizo literally means suspended in midair and is the root of the English term meteor. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Now, I also want to look at this one word here. It's also the Greek word 4439. It's a feminine noun. It means gate. It means a large door, means an entrance, a gate to a city or fortress. A gate, a door, a city or a fortress? Really? What city and fortress are we looking at there? But gates in antiquity, and here we're going to get our figurative to a gate, generally represented authority and power, okay? So if you hold possession of a gate, it's a representation of great authority and great power, really. Because that's what the gate represented in antiquity. That's what it says in figurative. So let's just hang on to that understanding, okay, while we explore this topping of the covering in a way that's going to actually take our eyes up even higher. Okay, so I found this passage, or this phrase. It says, the cloak of secrecy. The covering God says, and I'm going to say she, will remove, is in Isaiah 25. Now I found this. So, okay, let me get situated here if I can. Oh no, I don't know that I can get situated. Because it's not coming out like I need it to. Oh man. No. I just bear with me, folks, okay? Why I do this. It's funny, it's not coming up. Okay. Well, we're going to do this through the Bible then. I had all the passages pulled up that I need to. But if I mess with this, I'm just going to screw the whole thing up. And but the passage is found in Isaiah 25. And this is what it reads. Okay? So, Isaiah 25. I didn't get the... What does she say? Let's see. Right here. It's verse 6. We're going to start at verse 6. Isaiah 25. It says this, and in this mountain We're going to look at that mountain and where that mountain actually is. Shall the Lord of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees, well refined. Verse 7, and not he, she will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. Alright? Look at that covering we're looking at right there. And she, let's read it again. And she will destroy in this mountain. What mountain? Mount Zion, right? The Mount Zion. The face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. What's that? That's the strong delusion. That's at least the part that we're being shown. Alright? Verse 8, she will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord, God, Lord, here's 136. Understand why that number is important. Because she is the Lord that strikes through kings in the day of her wrath, that sits to Christ's number, 113. In Psalm 110, we have 3 lords there. And she is the one that strikes through her wrath. She is known as the branch of his strength out of Zion. That's how we know this is daughter Zion. Okay? And she is his stronghold. Okay? Okay, so the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces when she exposes this. And the rebuke of her people, because they're her people, alright? They were never meant to be Adam's people. They were always meant to be the daughter Zion's people. And that's alluded to in Song of Songs 1:6. It says, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard I have neglected. So she says, and the rebuke of her people shall she take away from off all the earth, for the Lord hath spoken it. And it shall be said in that day, lo, this is our God, that we have waited for her, and she will save us. This is the Lord, we have waited for her. We will be glad and rejoice in her salvation. That's 3444. That's feminine Yeshua. That's these daughters representing the spirit of new Adam, Christ, manifested on this earth to teach you the truth. And guess where they come from? They come from that mountain. But that mountain is hid right now. That's what we're getting in allegory. Watch what it says. Here we go. Now, bear in mind for all those who's been following me on allegory, this is an allegory. But there is a real physical mantle of the daughter of Zion yet to be revealed to our very eyes. And I think it's in this existence. It's got to be, because the word manifested is used many times when we think of the glory of God manifesting. But what does it say in Revelation 6? Bearing in mind the covering. What does it say? In Revelation 6 it says this. We'll start at verse 12. And I beheld when she had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Verse 13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs. She is shaken of a mighty wind. What's the fig tree? Well, we know in allegory it typically represents Israel. But what came to be exalted in Jerusalem was the harlot spirit. And we know that because we can connect it to Galatians 4:24, because it is Mount Jerusalem in Arabia that puts Hagar and her children under the bondage, which was the law that came from Mount Zion, which is Old Covenant, which is the Old Testament law, which is the covenant with the harlot spirit. So, actually the fig tree that's casting its untimely figs from the heavens is actually this harlot spirit that was established on her mountain, which really belonged to her, not this harlot spirit. but that's who Adam, the fallen Adam, exalted in his heart. Okay, there's a great battle going on. What else does it say? Verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Now, let's look at the allegory behind that. If we look at mountain and islands were moved out of their places, our first thought is Earth's, right? Earth's mountains and islands. But there's others mountains and islands. And those are those planets hanging out there under a dark mantle. Alright? That's what we don't see. Alright? We've been covered over with a dark mantle. So we don't see. Alright? But what does she promise in Isaiah 25? She says, I'm going to show you the veil that's over your eyes. And I'm going to remove that dark covering and expose the truth to your eyes. So you see the truth. So here we go. We're going to look at some more verses. And what I'm going to show you, share with you what I can see so far. It's really up to you to see it for yourself. So, what does it say here? Okay, we're not going to look at that verse just yet. So we'll look at Psalm 24, verse 3. And what does it say? Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in not his holy place? It could possibly be, but I don't think it is. It's her holy place, mother's holy place, is where the daughter will stand. Now we know that place as of right now, in allegory, again, is going to take us back to Judah's blessings. Okay, so bear with me. We're going to move around a little bit here. Did I write this out? I didn't write this passage out. All right. Yes, I did. What does it say in Genesis 49, verse 10? It says, the scepter, that means the rulership, shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. So it means he's protecting this position, this scepter, between his feet until Shiloh, that's the daughter Zion, which we link her to the Shulamite, until Shiloh come, and unto her shall the gathering of the people be. She's the glory, all right? But he's protecting that location, which is a mountain, represent as a mountain, between his feet until the ruler comes, which is the daughter Zion, which represents his glory, Christ's glory. Now, let's go back to Psalm 24, verse 3. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in, it's not his holy place, okay? It's actually was its mother, because it was Israel representing the mother, Jerusalem of us all, okay? That actually gave birth to the Son and brought him forth, all right? Well, we're not going to get into that right now. Or who shall stand in her holy place? For she that hath clean hands and a pure heart, and hath not lifted up her soul unto lies of who God is. All right? She's not playing the harlot. She's not playing his harlot. She's playing his equal. She's saying, I'm the spirit that rules the body. And I do that through the truth that Mother God showed to me. All right? She that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up her soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, we found her. It says he with clean hands and pure heart. No, it's she. It is the Shulamite with the clean hands. It says her fingers dripped with myrrh when she went to open the gate for her beloved. The gate's hers, you see. It's only she that can ascend. The gate belongs to her. It always did. So it says she rises up, her fingers drips with myrrh. Then we're told she is the only pure one of her mother, the pure daughter of her mother. She is the one that can ascend to that holy mountain and stand where Mother stands. Okay? Only she. She shall receive the blessing from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of salvation. Such is the generation, that's this generation, I believe, of those that seek her and who seek your face, O God. That's daughter Zion in spirit. All right? So we're playing around with a lot of allegories, and it gets difficult to put it together, but that's God. God is not easy to follow. God is very difficult to follow. But we're trying to follow at a very base level, okay? And if we can't follow God at a base level, then there's no hope for us. And that base level is our standing here, looking at what exists here. Male and female. It is not he. It is male and female. And I've been reading the Book of Wisdom. Oh yeah, it's wicked canon. You can't read that stuff. But it does so testify to the fact that woman was a different type created. It does so. It says she has a different nature altogether than the male that was created. Okay, now I'm not going to get into that, but it was very interesting detail. Wisdom does so back up this understanding that it is the daughter Zion that rules, and that they work to take her out of play. Now, continuing looking at the covering, because we know the gate here does so belong to the daughter because of the passage in Psalm 9:11. It specifies the name on the gate. So it says, sing praises to the Lord which dwelleth in Zion. We're looking at the mountain. Declare among the people her doings, not his. When she maketh inquisition for blood, she remembereth them. She's talking about the blood of her daughters that they killed, that they wiped out of existence, who was your covering. And they are referred to in Song of Songs as the shields in her neck. When it's referring to her neck, it's referring to her argument, the stronghold's argument, the covering of these daughters of Zion, who represents your shield, who is your covering, who is your glory, who protects earth. You see what we're looking at? But a dark covering is covering your understanding. All right? So, we're going to get to it in a minute. For those who ain't figured out what I'm thinking here. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. And she says, they hated me without a cause. They had no reason to hate me. I did not bring this hatred on myself, she says. They hated me because they simply did not want my rulership. They wanted the right to rule themselves. And so they took it upon themselves to build a new stronghold known as a harlot spirit that would allow them to write their own laws, their own wicked laws, all right, and cast her down. And cover the truth. It says he built himself up with thick clay. That means with lies, with the law. That's what that means. That I may show forth all thy praises in the gates of the daughter of Zion, and I will rejoice in thy salvation. So it's telling us whose gate. That's what it's telling us. And we know the gate, based on what we read on that word, symbolized power and authority. So that power and authority of the gateway belongs to the daughter of Zion. Only she alone can get us where? Oh, maybe it's a safe haven. Maybe it's a chamber. Maybe it's a place where we're to be when all the nasty things begins to hit planet Earth. Maybe it's our ship. But that ship needs a commander. And that commander is represented by the scepter that Judah is protecting between his feet. So we do so have a ship. We do have a safe haven. It's just not exposed to our eyes. We can't see it. And you know what? I'm going to speculate right here, right now. It's another planet. It's another planet hanging out there. Our eyes don't see it. And I'm going to share with you a dream, and how I come to the deeper understanding of this was this dream that I had. And again, this dream, oh man, I don't know the time frame. You lose track of time so easy, but it had to be at least 5 years ago I had this dream. But it was another one of those dreams where you just, it's distinct, and you know it came from the Lord, but you just don't understand its meaning and allegory. But it absolutely come into play when I began to study this dream did. So I know the Lord is working to pull this all together for me. Now, you don't have to agree with me, okay? This is pure speculation on my part at this point, until I get a stronger understanding of it. And I believe it's coming. I believe I've been given the proof. It's that belief that has to come into it to really pull it all together strongly. But I was shown a dream 5 years ago, and I know we're not to put a lot of stock sometimes in some of our dreams, and but this one was just so vivid it did not leave me again. And I think that's a sign that we need to pay attention to what's being said in these dreams. And this dream had me like a servant. Again, I have realized that in my dreams, whenever I'm dressed down, I'm representing the servant, okay? And so I usually have on a shirt that's usually either a cotton blue shirt or a denim shirt with denim blue jeans is usually what I have. It sounds crazy, but it's a very neat attire, but yet one that I can work in, all right? And so I tend to view myself as in the servant role when I'm being shown dressed in this manner, because there's other dreams, at least 2, where I'm dressed up, where I'm really dressed differently. And but in those dreams, I know these dreams where I'm dressed like this, that I'm in a servant role, okay? And so in this dream, it was not light, it wasn't dark, it was kind of dusk. And I knew I came through something. I guess it'd be a gateway. You could maybe say a portal. I don't know. But I had the distinct feeling that I came through an opening, okay, of some kind. I didn't look behind me. And I had a backpack on, but it wasn't a backpack like we have. It was, it looked like a hard plastic. It was very narrow and compact, and it was like a square like this on my back, like a bit bigger. And in the middle it had a rectangle square that kind of glowed on it. And I remember watching myself in the dream and wondering, what is in that? You can't put nothing in something that narrow and thin. What could be in that? But my curiosity was piqued on that. But as I walked this way down, there was a village, a very small village, and it was in darkness, you know, like not dark, but not light. And off to this side was a huge moon, and I mean huge. It looked like it was almost on top of the planet, okay? It wasn't full, it was about 3/4. And I looked off that way to my right, and it was just massive, massive. And then, I had this sinking feeling when I looked at that moon in that position. And then I looked up, and there was, the only way to describe it was a citadel planet. And the reason why I call it a citadel planet was because it was rimmed with like a man-made rim around this planet. And from that rim would come and go, I guess, ships on planet and come back to that citadel. And but I would call it a citadel planet. And I remember looking up and grinning, and that planet gave me peace. All right, now we're getting a little space agey here, but we're gonna try to fill this in. And then I jumped to another scene, and I'm on a very base level platform. It's built out of wood. And there's a group of people that I'm speaking to, but they won't listen to me. Now, I'm not allowed to see the people. I was not allowed to see the people. And at that point, they had strapped me to a missile. That's the only way I can describe this thing. But they had strapped me to the missile, and I was begging them, and I remember feeling nothing but deep love and a sadness for these people through this other me. And she begged them in the most benevolent tone, with benevolent feelings that I could feel emanating off her, saying, please don't do this, please don't do this, please. But I remember I was curious. I wanted to see who these people were that didn't want to listen to anything she had to say. But I wasn't allowed to see them. But she was pleading with them, please don't do this. And the final thought that I had while I was watching this take place was, I'm going to burn to death. They're going to shoot me into outer space. But I didn't get at the time what they were actually doing. They were shooting me back to that planet. That's what they were really doing. They were shooting me back to God. That's what they were doing. In the dream, they were rejecting me as one of these daughters that had brought word. And on my back, I don't know, perhaps healing, perhaps, I don't know what was in it. But that has took strongly to me with this, in this study. Because now I believe that represented the mountain. That's what I believe. I believe that's the mantle that they tore down. They installed a harlot. Now this is where it gets I get a little weird on it. Because technically there should almost be two. Because they split the word, they split the waters. In a sense, they split the spirit, but there's two spirits in allegory in Galatians 4. And then put up a dark covering so you couldn't see the truth. The dark mantle that we look at when we look out in outer space, we don't see. So I speculate really what outer space should look like. It should be just bright. It should be a bright light, and those planets should almost look like gardens or islands hanging there. That's almost what it should look like. And what you come away with is that this daughter Zion's gateway almost, okay, so let's look at some more verses, got closed off to her. Alright? So we enter into that mountain through the clean footpath, which is the footpath of truth, and we're not allowed there any other way. So that's why I speculate that there must be another planet out there hid. But yet you get the allegory that the harlot is set up there. Well, she couldn't have hid it unless it was through the right path. So you see why I'm still studying this. Alright? Because if that gateway does belong to the daughter Zion, then it was closed until today. It's closed up until she gets the truth. And that is why it is so scary to the adversary, because that planet offers great protection to Earth. Great protection. It was its mantle. It was its covering. It was its protection. You see? And so that's why we're looking at allegory here. It was a binary. It was male-female. But man cast that mantle down. And so we have a covering in two sense. That covering you don't see. And that covering made sure you didn't see. Alright? It blocked the truth of who your covering, your protection, your shields of earth were these daughters. Now, when that got cut off to her, it went black. It just, or it went into another dimension. Because I'm still looking at how you make this manifest. People's going to say, oh, alien, alien, alien. Well, we're living on a planet. Hello? We're living on a planet. And there's something wrong here. There's something so wrong here. But that mantle got pulled off of these daughters. Their rightful place was removed from them. And what does Job say? Watch what Job says. Because the harlot can't go no further. So, with the harlot spirit, man with the harlot spirit can't go no further. Job tells us this. Job tells us it in Job 30:11. And said, thus far shall you come, but no further. And here shall your proud waves be stopped. So you see, they couldn't get past a certain point because God says, nope. You cast down my righteous daughters. You don't get past a certain point. So we know the gateway belongs to daughter Zion, and it's an heir. It is a female heir that can open that gate, and is gonna pull back the heavens like a scroll and reveal it to our eyes, but it also says it must manifest. So I'm still looking at it. And there's lots of passages to look at, because you're looking at the dead, all right? We're still looking at the dead who has yet to be resurrected with their new bodies. Now there's those who says, oh, we're not going to have a physical body and it's all spiritual. Yes, it is spiritual. But what did Christ say to Thomas? Was it Thomas? Or Thomas? He says, touch and see that I am real. This was after he was resurrected. Well, the real body that he possessed came from the righteous spirit. All right? The harlot spirit can only give us a body of death. All right? A physical body of death. That's all she can provide for us. All right? Fallen Adam and that harlot can only provide a body that's going to die. But Christ's covenant was with the righteous spirit. Because what does the New Testament say? Know ye not, he that is joined to a harlot is a harlot. You're a harlot. So she cannot provide a body that's eternal. Christ's covenant was with daughter Zion. And he ascended. He ascended in a real physical body. Not one like this. But he ascended in a real physical body. Where? To the mountain. To Mount Zion. That's where he ascended. Alright? And he's holding that position as the scepter between his paws in accordance to the blessing that Judah received until the rightful ruler comes and can open the gateway. You're only going to be permitted a safe haven, a safe escape, what they call the rapture, when you believe her truth. Alright? The truth given to her by great God Almighty. What does it say? Psalm 127 verse 4. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are children born in one's youth. That's daughter Zion's youth. It says Hosea 2, I will call her out of the wilderness and I will give her vineyard back to her. And the only way she gets the vineyard back is by no guile in her mouth. She has to be teaching the truth of heaven. Blessed is the woman whose quiver is full of them. She will not be put to shame when she confronts the enemy at the gate. Now they're trying to block us. They're trying to block our access to that gate. And the way that they do that is through lying theology and a false understanding of what the true heaven teaches. And so they're trying to block our access to the gate, but the gate belongs to her. It is her gateway. It is her authority and her power. That is her mantle up there, represented by another planet, which was given to Earth to protect it. And what I also speculated was, well, if we go by that, then does this planet have to lie dead for 3,000 years before the woman seed brings it back to life, which is the spirit of the woman represented? Because only these children of truth who receives that truth will be given a safe haven. And that's heaven. That's heaven. That's what it looks like. And so we're still looking at strong allegory here. And so we also have that, what do they call it? Disclosure. Disclosure of the aliens, right? They've got that in play too. So I wonder if there ain't going to be two planets that appear or that manifest. And God says, my glory will be manifested here on earth for you to see, to bear witness to. So is this planet going to come into view? And I tend to look at it just from my dream, based on my dream, whether that's what it's going to look like or not. But I would call it a citadel planet. And daughter Zion would be your stronghold, your citadel, where you receive protection from. And so I wonder if that isn't the covering, all right? Then it says she casts them down, right? She casts down the false, would be your lying theology which is then viewed as the hosts of heaven fallen. All right? So we're looking at a great heavenly battle. Does she cast them down on, are they on another planet? It sounds crazy to talk about planets. But in the Bible, they just simply call them gardens or islands, is what the Bible refers to them as. And this is a garden. This mantle, represent as daughter Zion, as your stronghold, was the mantle, was the glory given to man to protecting. And so, is that our escape out, our gateway out? It has to be, because it's all given there in allegory, and there was so much more. I mean, I just kept rolling along and along here. Let me see. I went to Job. I was looking at witnesses, which is an advocate, right? Because Christ is, I must leave so that I can send you the Comforter. And so what you look at there is Christ ascended, but he ascended there. Then he sent her down in the physical world, all right? And so she's been here for 2,000 years, but he's been holding in a holding pattern, all right? Holding it for the one that it is reserved for. And she finds the gateway back out, okay? Up back to the safe haven, up to the chamber. What does Stephen do in Acts 7:55? But Stephen, full of the Holy Spirit, looked up to heaven and saw the glory, that's a feminine there, of God, that's 2:3:1:6, that's feminine, masculine, that could be mother, father sitting, and Jesus standing at the right hand of God, that's mother. But she, the daughter Zion, sits to the right and represents glory as well, because we're seeing that pattern in Psalm 110 with the three numbers 3068. 113 is Christ, 136 is daughter Zion's number. It says she'll strike through kings in the day of her wrath. So we're still looking at a lot of allegory here. Job 16 verse 9, it says, even now my witness is in heaven, my advocate is on high. Job 40 verse 9, what does God say to Job? Hast thou an arm like God? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like her? How do you think things are going to take place here on planet Earth? Well, she is in control. She's just pulled back. All right, so you don't see her. She's waiting for her daughter to regain control of the pathway. And that takes us back to what it says in Isaiah 42. I will lead thee in paths thou hast not known. All right? And that pathway is the pathway of truth. Then will I confess unto thee, know thee not, that thine own right hand can save thee. Then from verse 15 on is speaking of the behemoth. So it's describing what the strong right hand looks like. All right? In Job 4, God says, has thou an arm like unto God? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like her? And then she says in verse 14, then will I confess unto thee, know thee not, thine own right hand can save thee. So she's saying, you have your own right hand. I gave it to you. I gave it to you. And then from 15 on, it describes the behemoth, which is the right hand of God. Behemoth is Israel. But behemoth is it's a symbol of authority and power in the spirit. All right? When these daughters pull together and begin to teach the truth of heaven, all right, and becomes actually the shield of earth, like they're supposed to be, the protector, the great protector. So advocate, we know helper, it means helper, and advocate is a helper. But the word helper, easier, is used in application to the woman, and it's not helpmate. The word helpmate never appears there. There's no such word in original Hebrew as helpmate. No such word. Helper. There's 21 occurrences of that word helper. 19 times it applies to God as your great help, and 2 times to the woman in her creation account as your great help, your right hand that's going to save you. She is your glory, your mantle that you don't see, that was ripped away, that was taken away from her. And because we lost sight of the real gateway, the real path, that's been denied us. So it went dark, hidden. It's our escape out of here is what it looks like. Helper, 5826, to help, succor, helper, supports, protects, restrains. That's your restrainer. What does it say in Hosea 13:9? O Israel, you are against me and against thy help. Against your ear, against woman, against the righteous daughter. Shield 4043. This is Christ speaking in John 16:7. He says, but very, very, very truly, I tell you, it is for your good that I am going away. Where did he go away? Well, he ascended with a real body. He says, touch and see that I am real. He had a real body. He ascended, but he ascended where? He ascended through the gateway of daughter Zion. Alright? But he says, I tell you, it is good for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the advocate, your great helper that I'm sending to you, will not come to you. But if I go, I will send her to you. Well, it's actually not him. We're told in Psalm 110 that it's actually Mother that sends the great help, because her number is 3068. And Mother is God Almighty. And so we look at the heavens scrolling back. Alright? And that's the revelation of your true protector, your true mantle. And this dark deception where they've caused a strong delusion to come upon our eyes. Okay? And has kept us in darkness. We look out into outer space, it's all dark. Right? It's just dark. It's gone dark. Verse 8, we'll continue on from John 16:7, and he says, and when she comes, it's got he, nope, wrong gender. And when she comes, she will convict the world in regard to sin, in righteousness, and judgment. And she does. Because she's your only access out of here through that gateway. And I'm still looking at those that are dead and have gone on before. It says in Isaiah 26 that even her light shines unto the dead. Alright? So they're not there. They're not there. But they gain access to her gateway when she appears on scene. Because we begin to bring together the spirit world and the physical world. That's what we're beginning to see. The becoming of that. The manifestation of that. And you get that word, I think it's 1096 in Greek, to become. But it also leads you to is, was, and who is to come. And that's your daughter Zion. Alright? 3875, it called to one's aid, an advocate, an intercessor, a consoler, a comforter, a helper. This is feminine, it is not masculine. I don't care how many times they write it male. This is a female if you do your study. That's your base understanding of what was created here on earth, male and female. And it says, come let us make them in the image of the Godhead. I got it right down. Hebrew number 2338, female. They simply give you the word female here. Hebrew 2338. Properly, a woman with nursing breasts, one who gives suck. Figuratively, a mature female who exhibits sanctified femaleness, glorifying God by reflecting the other wonderful half of the divine image. How do we got three sitting on thrones and are all males? If she's the other wonderful half of the divine image. So says this word in Hebrew 2338. I'm pretty sure it's Hebrew. I got an H. I could have wrote it down wrong. But I believe it's Hebrew. If not, then you go to the Greek. So, advocate. This has to do with your witnesses rising up in the earth. Your advocate, your advisor, your helper, your strong right hand that is here to deliver you. They're here to save you. And they do it through mighty deeds. Alright? And Christ ascended to that stronghold, daughter Zion, which is his other half. And he's protectively protecting it until she comes on scene. So it's a strong allegory. Yeah. I've been looking at a lot of words. But let's go to Isaiah 42 before I take off here. Does she say? This is clear. It's daughter Zion. And it says, till the restrainer be took out of the way. I questioned whether it means that she's no longer restrained. She's not restrained anymore. And so, because the truth has been rolled back and revealed to your eyes. But what does she say here? We'll start at verse 14. We could just, they got male here in 13, but I don't believe it's male, it's female. 14, we'll start in. It is female in 14. I have long time holden my peace. She's been silenced. I have been still, and I have restrained myself, refrained myself. So, refrain means she's restrained. She's been restrained, but she ain't restrained no more. So the restrainer ain't took out of the way. The restrainer is released, perhaps. And refrain myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and I will devour at once. This is the judgment. I will make waste mountains. Really, what mountains? Well, again, it could be, you know, that dark mantle is hiding other mountains out there, which then reflects on the earth, okay, what's exalted on earth. And so we got a twofold understanding here. You got a physical battle going on, you got a spiritual battle, but the two are coming together. And our eyes are going to bear witness to those deeper truths. Because we're told that the glory will manifest in the physical world for the world to bear witness to with their very own eyeballs. And so we have to kind of start getting out of these crazy man-made theology ruts that we've been put into and start doing what the Spirit told us to do. Reason it out. Does it make sense? And so to use reasoning, your brain. And if something doesn't make sense and the Spirit's telling you, nah, something's not adding up here, then start reasoning it out. You know? And so it says, I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry like a travailing woman. I will destroy and devour at once. I will make waste mountains, your spiritual battle, your physical battle going on, and dry up all their herbs, and I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools. I can go into detail here, but I don't really have the time to do it. I often speculated if those rivers out there isn't a flowing current, an electrical current or a plasma energy that represents a river, courseway that we follow, because it does appear that the planets are almost ships in some way. So we're coming up with the understanding that soon there's going to be a commander appointed of that ship, and it's the mantle. It's a woman's glory restored back to her. So like I said, you have the garment represented as the male, and you have the glory represented as the robe, the female. The mantle that was promised to be restored back to her. And she would not only possess Israel, she would possess the Gentile nations. So there you have, if this earth actually has to physically die, like Adam did, like Christ did, representing the second Adam, for 3 days and be in the ground, does earth have to die for 3 days? Or it says a day is like 1,000 years, for 3,000 years. And the new Israel, represented as the woman's seed, that mantle, that plant where we've all been pulled back based on us being represented as her children through the doctrine that we received, so we were allowed access out through that gateway, then she takes her children Israel and she replants this and brings life to this planet again, which is akin to resurrecting Adam, the second Adam. Now that's just speculation. I ain't got nothing to really back that up other than allegory. It's something to think about. Alright? because it does say the earth will be purified by fire. Now, we have also understood in allegory that fire represents the law of heaven in allegory. And so it means that the truth is going to purify the earth. All right? There's a lot. I think there's a bigger time frame at work here going on. So we'll keep reading. And I will dry up the pools. Verse 16. And I will bring the blind. You've been blinded by the dark mantle, by the lying theology of fallen Adam and the harlot, by a way that they knew not. And I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. So she's, again, this allegorical understanding is actually taking us back to what it reads in Revelations chapter 6. What does it say? Chapter 6. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll, when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. You see, that's the judgment of your he-goats. God calls your mountains of this world and your false rulers he-goats. You see your real rulers in the Abrahamic Sarah covenant. And your first animal promised restoration is the heifer, represent as Israel in allegory. We come to understand that. Your second is the she-goat. That's your daughter of Zion, promised restoration. She is your mountain, your ruler. And you have the ram, represent by Christ as your second Adam. All right? And this is the restoration. And then you have, of course, your turtle dove, which is a feminine, and you have a pigeon. All right? So, which is spiritual. It's anything with wings represents spiritual authority and power. So I tend to think that those are representing possibly the children restored back to the heifer, the she-goat, and the ram. But that mother says, I'm going to remove this mountain. So it's a heavenly battle, but it's a spiritual one playing out. And the two, at some point, the two are going to mesh, and we're going to see the truth, because the heavens is going to roll back, and it's going to reveal our covering, our protection. And it says you'll see God sitting on the throne, and everybody, all the kings and their servants, and everybody will pray for the mountains to fall upon them. And so, I mean, I'll watch the video, and I'll just like, there's so much more you could have said, and you could have said it this way. And again, I didn't read Psalm 45, verse 3. It says, strap your sword at your side. Your sword is a symbol of your word in allegory. O mighty warrior, appear in your majesty and splendor. In your splendor ride forth in victor on behalf of truth and humility and justice. May your right hand show you awesome deeds. That's talking to Christ in the sense that his right hand is here on earth, which is fallen Adam. It says, has thou an arm like unto God? Well, Christ received that. It says, to what man will I give my right hand to? God is speaking there. And it says, your arrows pierce the heart of the king's foes. So she's in battle against the enemy to bring the adversary down, which is the harlot Babylon. She is daughter Zion, who has the power to bring her down, which is represented as that mantle, that citadel planet. They're afraid of that. That's got to be powerful. That ship, that planet, that mantle has got to be powerful, baby. Because I sense a great fear by them. They do not want us accessing those gates and getting restored. They do not want us in power, baby. The nations fall beneath your feet. Now that's interesting, because this is Orion, one of the planets, is doing something. But it's you know what, I almost picture the pullback of the bow and arrow. getting ready to release. It's a heavenly battle being waged here, and it's spiritual is your heavenly, and earthly it's playing out as well. But at some point you're gonna see the two intertwine, and you're not gonna be able to deny the truth. But that's the delusion, because you've been taught that when these daughters do rise up to take you out through the gateway, through the truth, that the opposition is going to be the Antichrist, and he's going to rise up, and he's going to put in play that Old Testament law, which is designed to subjugate righteous daughters. And that's what's going down right now. It's getting ready to take place. Now, as my understanding grows on this, I'm going to leave open my description underneath. And usually I tend to pen a full 5,000. You're allowed 5,000. It says words, but you know, every little space counts. So it's not technically 5,000 words, I don't think. But I tend to fill in the whole space. I'm going to leave it open this time. And as my understanding grows, alright, on this topic, because this is just real quick. It's not a deep like it needs to be. And I do know that after I make a video, my understanding tends to really form after that over weeks. And you'll watch it and you're like, well, you could have said this and you could have said that, but at that time you couldn't have said it. And so I'll leave my space open so that as something really important it gets revealed to me, I'll write it in there. So if anybody wants to keep up on the videos, sometimes the information will change, or it will be added to under the videos as my understanding grows, and I share it. I can share it with you. So I think that's everything. I gave you words to look up, and I know you're all doing your own studies. And certainly that word Greek, a viper, feminine 2191, absolutely led us to our understanding of the two vipers there that you see, or the serpents in the wilderness. One was poison. That's an allegory to your women that Balaam told Balak to send in to poison the men with this lion theology that exalts a man over a woman, and it just tasted like honey. It's cobra's venom killing them. And it says they came against Moses. Korah and 250 men came against Moses. And Moses was instructed to make a brass serpent, which takes you back to your brass serpent, your seraphim, because that's really what they are in color. They're brass serpent. That's your glory. Your seraphim is your glory allegory. And you see them running out from the throne like lightning. That's, again, a picture of the gateway, a portal. The ladder that Jacob seen in a vision. It's these gateways that we always were able to access. They're still here. We just can't see them. We can't see them anymore. And but it looks like we're transported like lightning. But it is these daughters that come from there. That glory, that mantle, that citadel that protects earth with the truth of heaven, with eternal life that it gives and that it offers. And she's your seraphim. It looks like all the judgment takes place off of there because it is in the heavens. And everything's being fully restored back. But our understanding has to grow. We cannot keep at the same lying theology that we're at. He. And it makes absolutely no sense. And he's going to birth, and he's going to restore, and he's going to save you and birth you out of here and get you out through the truth. No, he ain't. Bible testifies that's all lies. In the allegory, in your parables, which is your language restored back to you, your pure language restored back to you. But you see these daughters move like lightning. It's akin to the gateway coming out from the throne. That's what it's akin to. And you know, I don't know if anybody knows this, but a lioness can run 30% faster than her male counterpart lion. And she rules the pride. He don't. She hunts. He hunts for himself, but she hunts for her children and herself. She runs 30% faster than him. He wears a mane, but it's to attract the female. That's why he wears the mane. And so, you get your understanding all twisted on a lot of things because of the way they want to spin it at you. Oh, he's king. Oh, he's ruler. Well, he is a king, but she's a queen. And I can't help but think that they tampered with the genetics, that false mantle that's hidden, that we can't see because it chose not to be shown. Tampered with our genetics here on planet Earth. And I almost think the lioness did have a mane, because she's a queen every bit as much as he's a king. And but they removed that truth from us, so they could debase us and put us under him. So that's the allegory that I'm seeing, that the mantle is another body that was given to Adam to protect him. She's the citadel that was given by great God Almighty, who is in the heavens, to protect earth. And he didn't want it. He rejected her. So we looked at all the allegory. And the only way you're truly going to understand everything I'm saying is if you've gone through the other videos. Alright? And it has been able to pick up threads and then just go, oh, okay, yeah, that's where it links to this part, and that's where it links to that part. That's the only way you're going to be able to really fully understand it and comprehend it. So I'll end my video there. I thank you for watching my videos, for sharing them, for trying to go in and understand the studies that we've done over time. And I hope the Lord blesses you abundantly with the truth. And I hope y'all have a really nice